My name is Ethan Cole, and I am 34 years old. When I got home that Thursday evening, the apartment was too quiet. No clatter from the kitchen, no low hum of the TV in the living room, no scent of her perfume lingering in the air like it usually did. Just silence. I stepped inside, heavy boots thudding against the floor, and shut the door behind me. The first thing I noticed was that her shoes, the brown flats she wore almost every day, were missing from the rack. Then my eyes went to the key holder. Her set of keys was gone too. A slow chill crept up my back. On the kitchen table sat a piece of paper, folded once, neat and centered like some kind of formal letter. My hand stayed steady as I unfolded it, even though my heart had already started hammering against my ribs like it was trying to break free. Ethan, I can't do this anymore. I'm tired of feeling like I don't matter. Tired of waiting for you to come home. Tired of pretending we still have a connection. You are cold and indifferent, and I can't waste any more of my life feeling invisible. I'm going to stay with my parents. Please don't come looking for me. It's better this way. Mia. I read it once, then again. Then I put it down, methodically, without tearing it up or tossing it away like I wanted to. My face was blank, my breathing even. I took off my turnout coat, hung it on the rack, and sat down at the kitchen table where we used to eat dinner together, feeling like a visitor in someone else's life. Inside, though, something was unraveling, a cold, sharp sensation of something vital slipping through my fingers. But I did not let it show, not even to myself. The next day, I went to work like usual. A double shift at the station. Hey, Cole, you all right? One of the guys asked as we geared up for another call. Yeah, I said. Just tired. It was easier to let them think it was fatigue than explain how the center of my life had just hollowed out. But the thing was, if I was honest, I had felt it coming. Not in words, not in full thoughts, but in small things. Little fractures in the walls we had built together. There had been a change in Mia lately. She used to text me little things during the day, just to let me know she was thinking of me. A picture of her coffee cup. A miss you message. But lately, the texts had stopped. Or if they came, they were short, almost mechanical. When I came home after a 72-hour shift, she would be polite, but distant. Her hugs felt lighter. Her laughter came less easily. I told myself it was just the rhythm of life. People get busy. People get tired. We had been married for 6 years. It wasn't supposed to feel like the first year anymore. But now, sitting in the empty kitchen, I realized I had been fooling myself. And maybe, deep down, I had known it. That weekend, I drove past her parents' house. Her father's truck was parked out front. Her mom's sedan too. No sign of Mia. I thought about knocking. About marching up to the door and demanding to see her, demanding answers. But the truth was, I was afraid of what I might hear. Instead, I drove past. Twice. On Sunday, I called her once. Straight to voicemail. No callback. The apartment was a shell without her. I started noticing things I had ignored before. The photos of us from vacations she had taken down from the walls without me even realizing it. The way her side of the closet had slowly gotten emptier over the past few months. She had been preparing to leave for a while. I just hadn't seen it. Or maybe I hadn't wanted to. By Monday, something in me shifted. I needed to know more. Not to win her back. That thought didn't even cross my mind. But because something about the way she left didn't sit right. The letter had sounded like Mia, but it also hadn't. It was too neat, too decisive. She had always been someone who wavered, who second-guessed, who cried at the thought of hurting anyone. Something wasn't adding up. I decided to start small. I checked her social media. Nothing. No new posts, no cryptic updates. Her last picture was from 3 weeks ago, a sunset over the river, captioned, "Sometimes you just need to breathe." I scrolled through the comments. One caught my eye, a guy from her yoga class, leaving it too familiar. "You're amazing, Mia. Always remember that." I clicked on his profile. Public pictures. Group photos from yoga retreats. Pictures of him with his arms around different women, laughing, posing. No pictures with Mia, though. Still, something about the way he had written that comment stayed with me. Like he knew more than he was letting on. That night, lying in the empty bed, staring up at the ceiling, the questions gnawed at me. Who had she really gone to? Was it just her parents? Or someone else? I remembered the late-night calls she used to step outside to take. The girls' nights, that became more frequent. The quick explanations about why she couldn't meet me for lunch when I was off duty. I had brushed all of it aside. I had trusted her. Now, that trust felt like a hollow thing, brittle and cracked. I realized I had two choices. I could let it go, accept her leaving at face value, or I could dig, find the truth. I thought about it for a long time. And then, sometime before dawn, I made my decision. I was going to find out exactly what had happened and who she had been waiting for while I was busy saving other people's lives. The next few days passed in a haze of mechanical movements. Wake up, eat, work, sleep, repeat. At least, that was what it looked like on the outside. Inside, my mind was constantly turning, piecing together the fragments of the past few months, looking for patterns I had missed. The first thing I did was pull up our shared phone bill online. We were still on the same plan. Her number, my number. I clicked into her call history. Most of the numbers were familiar. Her mother, her best friend, Tasha, work calls. But then there was one number I didn't recognize. It kept popping up again and again, especially late at night. Sometimes during the time she had told me she was at a book club or out with the girls. I wrote it down. I could have called it right then and there. But something told me to wait. Instead, I did something I never thought I would do. I drove to the yoga studio Mia had started attending a year ago, the same place where she had met that guy who left the comment on her photo. I parked across the street and waited. The evening class let out around 7. A cluster of women in leggings and sweatshirts trickled out, chatting and laughing. And then I saw him. Tall, athletic build, sandy blonde hair tied back in a short ponytail. He was talking to a woman I recognized, Mia's yoga instructor, Sharon. He leaned in close when he spoke to her, touched her elbow lightly when he laughed. The kind of casual intimacy that spoke of practice. I sat there in my truck, the engine running, fingers drumming lightly on the steering wheel, feeling like a ghost looking in on a world he no longer belonged to. After a few minutes, he got into a beat-up silver SUV and pulled away. I tailed him, keeping a good distance. He drove across town, through the quieter neighborhoods, and eventually pulled into the parking lot of an apartment complex I didn't recognize. I watched him disappear into Building C without looking back. I didn't know what I was looking for exactly. Maybe some confirmation that I wasn't just losing my mind. But I didn't follow him inside. I wasn't ready for that. Not yet. That night, lying awake in the darkness, I thought about all the times I had told Mia I loved her. All the times I had left notes for her before my shifts, stupid little things like, love you more than coffee, or be back soon, beautiful. All the times I had come home exhausted but still tried to make time for her, tried to make her feel seen, feel loved. Had it ever mattered? Or had she already been halfway out the door, smiling at me while she built another life behind my back? The questions sat heavy on my chest. The next morning, I called in a favor from a guy I knew at the station, Tyler, who used to moonlight doing security work. Hey, I said, trying to keep my voice casual. You still have access to that People Finder software you used to talk about? There was a pause. Depends, he said. What do you need? Nothing crazy. Just, I need to find out who owns a number. That's all. Another pause. Text it to me. I'll see what I can do. I sent him the number from the call log, the one Mia kept calling late at night. An hour later, he texted back. Belongs to Ryan Adams. No criminal record. Local guy. Lives on 12th and Main. Ryan Adams. I racked my brain, trying to place the name. It wasn't someone from our old friend group. Not a coworker. Not a family friend. A stranger. At least to me. But apparently not to Mia. That evening, instead of going home, I drove to 12th and Main. It was a modest part of town. Duplexes and small homes with overgrown yards and old cars parked along the curb. I parked down the street and watched. No sign of Mia. No sign of Ryan Adams either. I waited for over an hour before I finally gave up and drove home. Still, it gnawed at me. The way she had slipped away, the way she had chosen someone else so easily, while I had been busy risking my life for strangers. I wasn't angry. Not yet. Anger would have been easier to bear. What I felt was something colder. Something heavier. Like carrying a stone around in my chest. The next few days followed the same pattern. Work. Watch. Wait. I started noticing other small things, too. Mutual friends who used to comment on our pictures had gone silent. One of Mia's co-workers, who I ran into at the grocery store, barely met my eyes when we spoke. Something bigger was happening. Something I hadn't seen coming. And somewhere deep in my gut, I knew. Mia hadn't just left because of indifference or coldness. She had found something she thought was better. And she hadn't been planning to tell me. Not until she had no other choice. One night, after another long shift, I found myself parked outside her parents' house again. Lights on in the living room. A silhouette moving past the curtains. Her dad's voice carrying faintly through an open window. I sat there for a long time, thinking about the life I had thought we were building together. The home we were saving up for. The vacations we had planned but postponed because of my crazy work schedule. The promises we had made. All of it, slipping away like smoke between my fingers. I didn't knock. I didn't call. Instead, I turned the truck around and drove away, the tires crunching quietly over the gravel. There was no place for me there anymore. And whether I liked it or not, it was time to start facing that fact. The third week after Mia left, I stopped pretending to myself. This was no simple case of two people growing apart. This was no honest falling out of love. There was someone else. And I was going to find out who, and how deep the betrayal went. I started by going through the things she had left behind. Most of Mia's important stuff, clothes, jewelry, photo albums, was gone. But she had left a few things, a couple of notebooks, a few old bills, a tattered handbag tucked into the closet. Inside the handbag, under a bunch of crumpled receipts, I found a slip of paper. It was a business card. Serenity Yoga Retreat. Weekend sessions available. A number scrawled on the back. Not the studio she normally went to. A different place, one I had never heard her mention before. I searched the number online. Sure enough, another yoga studio, across town. Smaller, more private. Private enough for a person to slip out of sight. Private enough for something to happen that wasn't meant to be seen. I spent the next few days juggling shifts at the firehouse with quiet, secretive detective work. When I wasn't pulling hoses or checking equipment, I was piecing together my wife's second life. On my day off, I drove out to the Serenity Yoga Retreat. It was tucked away on a wooded back road, almost hidden behind a row of tall pines. It wasn't just a yoga studio. It was one of those weekend getaway places, the kind that advertised healing, connection, and self-discovery. They also offered couples retreats. I sat in my truck for a long time, staring at the rustic wood sign, thinking about all the times Mia had told me she needed space, or time to reconnect with herself. Had she been reconnecting with someone else instead? The thought settled heavy in my gut. That night, I pulled out old photos and receipts, matching dates and places. Mia had gone away twice in the past 6 months, weekends when I had been working overtime, covering for guys who were sick or on vacation. Both trips had been under the same excuse, girls' weekend. Both weekends, the phone calls to Ryan Adams had spiked. The pattern was clear now, painfully clear. She hadn't been waiting for me to come home. She had been building something new, right under my nose. A few days later, while refueling the engine after a call, Tyler, the guy from the station who had helped me before, sidled up to me. "You still looking into your wife?" he asked in a low voice, away from the other guys. I nodded, keeping my expression neutral. "You might want to know," he said, hesitating. "I saw her the other day. Not at her parents'." "Where?" "Downtown," he said. "By the cafe on Elm." She wasn't alone. I waited. She was with some guy? Not holding hands or anything, but it looked close. Too close for just friends. I clenched my jaw, but nodded once. "Thanks." Inside, something cold and final clicked into place. I didn't confront her. Not yet. Instead, I drove by that cafe the next day, sat across the street with a black coffee and a pair of dark sunglasses, watching. 2 hours passed. I almost gave up. And then, there she was. Mia, laughing, tilting her head just the way she used to when we first met. And next to her, Ryan Adams. They weren't touching. They weren't whispering. But they didn't have to. You can see it when two people are orbiting each other. You can see it in the way they lean in, the way their bodies unconsciously mirror each other. They were together, emotionally, if not physically. And somehow, that betrayal cut deeper than anything else. She hadn't just fallen for someone else. She had transferred everything, all the love, all the trust, to him. I sat there, watching them, a million emotions warring inside me. Grief, rage, but also a strange, terrible calm. This was real. This was happening. And nothing I could say or do would bring back the life I thought we had. That night, sitting alone in the apartment that still smelled faintly of her shampoo, I made my decision. I wasn't going to chase her. I wasn't going to beg. Whatever we had, whatever she had pretended we still had, it was gone. And I wasn't about to humiliate myself by fighting for someone who had already made her choice. But I wasn't finished yet, either. I needed closure. Not the kind she could give me. The kind I had to find for myself. And that meant going deeper. Finding out just how far this deception had spread. Because I was starting to get the sick feeling that Mia wasn't the only one who had known about it. That some of the people I called friends had known, too. And stayed silent. The next morning, I woke up with a clear plan. I had spent enough nights lying awake, stewing in what-ifs. Now it was time to drag everything into the light. No more second-guessing. No more giving people the benefit of the doubt. I started with the simplest lead I had, Tasha. Tasha had been Mia's best friend for years. She had been over at our place more times than I could count, drinking wine with Mia, binge-watching bad reality TV shows, and talking late into the night while I retreated to the bedroom or pulled another shift at the firehouse. If anyone knew what Mia had been up to, it would be her. I texted her that morning, casual and polite. Hey Tasha, mind if we meet for coffee? Would like to talk about Mia. Nothing heavy. The reply came fast. Sure. Tomorrow morning? The Bean House at 10? I agreed. The next day, I got there early. Picked a corner table where I could watch the door. Tasha showed up 10 minutes late, sunglasses perched on her nose, hair pulled into a messy bun. She looked nervous, fiddling with her purse strap, scanning the cafe like she was afraid someone might be watching. She ordered a latte and sat across from me. Hey, Ethan, she said, giving me a tight smile. Thanks for meeting, I said. Kept my voice neutral. No accusations. No desperation. Just quiet, calm curiosity. I'm just trying to understand what happened, I said. When did Mia start? Feeling unhappy? Tasha stirred her latte, staring into the foam like it might hold the answers. I don't know, Ethan, she said. It wasn't just one thing. She said she felt alone. Like you were always gone. Like you didn't see her anymore. I nodded, keeping my face steady. Did she ever mention anyone else? I asked. Someone she got close to? Tasha hesitated. A beat too long. My stomach tightened. She mentioned some people from yoga, she said finally. Friends. But it wasn't like. I mean, she didn't say anything about cheating. Lie. I could see it in her eyes. The slight shift of her shoulders. The way her fingers tightened around her coffee cup. She knew more than she was letting on. I leaned back, let the silence stretch. People can't stand silence. They rush to fill it. Sure enough, after a few seconds, Tasha broke. Look, she said, voice dropping to a whisper. I didn't agree with it. Okay. I told her it wasn't fair to you. I told her to be honest. But she was convinced. She thought you'd just brush her off, like everything else. Her words hit harder than I expected. Like everything else. Had I really been that blind? That cold? Or was that just the story Mia had told herself to justify what she was doing? I didn't answer. I didn't defend myself. Because it didn't matter anymore. The damage was done. Tasha left soon after, clearly eager to escape. I sat there for a long time, letting the anger simmer under my calm exterior. Tasha had known. Maybe others, too. They had watched me keep trying, keep showing up, keep believing, while they kept their mouths shut. Because it was easier that way. Because it wasn't their problem. Because loyalty meant less than comfort. Later that day, another crack appeared in the facade. I ran into Derek, a guy I used to consider one of my closest friends, at a gas station. We hadn't spoken much since Mia left. He offered me a half-hearted hey, and tried to walk past, but I caught his arm. Got a minute? I asked. He hesitated, then nodded. We stood by the pump, the scent of gasoline sharp in the air, the awkwardness hanging heavy between us. Be straight with me, I said. You knew, didn't you? Derek looked away, rubbing the back of his neck. I didn't want to get involved, he muttered. It wasn't my place. So you just watched, I said, voice low. Watched her throw away 6 years, and said nothing. He didn't answer. He didn't have to. The betrayal burned hotter than I thought possible. Not just Mia. Not just Ryan Adams. But the people I had trusted. The people who should have had my back. They had all chosen silence over loyalty. That night, back in the apartment, I opened a beer and sat in the dark, letting the weight of it all settle over me. The life I thought I had wasn't just gone. It had been alive for a long time. And I had been the last fool to figure it out. I wasn't going to confront them. I wasn't going to scream, or demand explanations, or make a scene. None of that would change what had happened. No, if I was going to survive this, really survive it, I needed something else. I needed to cut the cord. All of it. Mia. Ryan, Tasha, Derek, every last one of them. And that meant one final step. I had to face her. One last time. Face her, not to win her back, not to argue, but to look her in the eye and show her, without a single word, that she had no power over me anymore. That whatever life she had chosen, whatever lies she had built it on, they had no place in the man I was going to become. Not anymore. I did not call Mia. I did not text her. If she wanted to leave, she had already left. If she wanted closure, she would have to face me. All I wanted now was the truth. It happened 3 days later, when I least expected it. I had just gotten back from a 24-hour shift. My muscles ached. My clothes smelled like smoke. I was too tired to even care about the mess my life had become. As I walked up the stairwell to the apartment, I saw her. Mia, sitting on the top step, arms wrapped around her knees, staring at the floor. For a second, we just looked at each other. She stood up slowly, brushing her hair behind her ear the way she always did when she was nervous. "Hey," she said, voice small. I didn't answer. I unlocked the door and walked inside, leaving it open behind me. She followed. The apartment felt different with her in it, smaller somehow, heavier. Mia stood by the counter, not moving past the threshold, as if the whole space had become foreign to her. Or maybe it always had been. I needed to see you," she said finally. I needed to explain. I leaned against the sink, arms crossed over my chest. "Explain what?" I asked, my voice steady, almost detached. "That you packed up and ran away without a conversation? That you found someone else?" Her face crumpled slightly, but she caught herself. "It wasn't like that," she said. "It wasn't just about him." I didn't say anything. Let her talk. Let her unravel herself. "I felt invisible, Ethan," she said, voice cracking. "I felt like I didn't exist except when you needed someone to come home to. You were always working, always tired, always somewhere else. I thought about all the hours I had spent at the firehouse, pulling extra shifts so we could save for a house. About all the birthdays and anniversaries I had worked through, telling myself it was temporary, that it would all pay off someday. Apparently, someday never came. So you found someone who made you feel seen," I said flatly. Mia flinched. "I didn't mean for it to happen," she whispered. "It started out as friendship. Someone to talk to. Someone who asked me how I was doing and actually listened." A bitter laugh rose in my chest, but I swallowed it down. "Was it Ryan?" I asked. She nodded, tears brimming in her eyes. "It wasn't physical at first," she said quickly, like that would somehow lessen the blow. "But it became more." I stared at her for a long moment. "How long?" Mia looked down at the floor. 6 months, she said. "Maybe longer. 6 months. Half a year of lying. Half a year of pretending." It hit me harder than I expected, not the betrayal itself, but the length of it. The sheer depth of the deception. "You had choices," I said quietly. "You could have told me. You could have asked for a separation. You could have said you weren't happy." "I was scared," she said, voice breaking. "I didn't want to hurt you." A sharp, humorless smile twisted my mouth. "You didn't want to hurt me," I repeated. "So you lied. You cheated. You made choices for me, without giving me a say." She wiped at her eyes, but I didn't move to comfort her. "Those days were over." "Was Tasha covering for you?" I asked, though I already knew the answer. Mia nodded miserably. "And Derek?" Another nod. The web of betrayal tightened around me, but strangely, I didn't feel anger anymore. Just a cold, distant sadness. I had built my life around people who had abandoned me the first time things got hard, and now I could finally see it clearly. Mia shifted on her feet. "I never stopped loving you, Ethan," she whispered. I needed more." I shook my head slowly. "You didn't love me," I said. "You loved the idea of me. The man who came home in uniform. The man who could make you feel safe. But when it wasn't easy anymore, you chose someone else." I straightened, walked to the door, and opened it. Mia stood there, staring at me, trembling. "Please," she said. "Please don't hate me." I looked at her for a long, long moment. And then I said the truest thing I had said in months. "I don't hate you," I said. "I just don't care anymore." Mia's face crumpled, but I turned away before she could say anything else. I heard the door close quietly behind her. And for the first time in a long time, I stood alone in the apartment, really alone, and felt something shift inside me. Not anger, not grief. Freedom, pure and cold and absolute. Later that night, as I sat on the couch with a cold beer and the windows open to the night air, I realized something important. I had spent so long trying to hold on to something that wasn't real. And now, finally, I was free to build something new. Something real. But first, I had to finish cleaning house. There were still a few more lies that needed to be unearthed. And this time, I wasn't going to look away. The next morning, I woke before dawn. No nightmares. No dread. Just a cold, clear sense of what needed to be done. First, I blocked Mia's number. No drama. No last message. Just a simple click, and she was out of my phone, out of reach. Then I scrubbed my social media. Deleted our pictures. Unfriended Tasha, Derek, anyone tied to her betrayal. No anger anymore. Just a calm determination not to carry them forward into my next life. By noon, I started packing everything that reminded me of her. Photos, decorations, even the wedding album, into boxes. I didn't smash them. I didn't burn them. I just carried them downstairs into a storage unit, shut the door, and locked it. Out of sight. Out of mind. As I walked back to the truck, I saw her. Not Mia. Tasha. Standing nervously by the driver's door, chewing her lip. I could have ignored her, but part of me needed to hear it. What do you want, Tasha? I asked, keeping my voice flat. She shifted uncomfortably. I'm sorry, she whispered. I should have told you. Then why didn't you? Tears welled in her eyes. Because I was scared. I thought maybe she'd come to her senses. I didn't want to lose both of you. I stared at her, feeling nothing but a dull ache. You made your choice, I said, and turned away. No yelling. No fight. Just the end of another false friendship. That evening, I drove to the old lake pier. Sat on the hood of my truck, breathing the sharp, clean air, watching the sun bleed out over the water. It still hurt. The betrayal, the loneliness. But there was peace too, in knowing the worst was behind me. My phone buzzed. It was James, an old friend from the firehouse. If you need anything, I'm around. A small gesture, but sometimes the smallest things mean the most. As night fell, I made a quiet promise. I would not let this break me. I would not let it define me. I would heal. I would rebuild. And next time, I would choose differently. And I would choose myself first. The apartment felt emptier each day, but somehow lighter too. I stopped waiting for Mia to call. Stopped expecting some last apology that would fix everything. Life moved on around me. Work shifts, fire alarms, the hum of the city, and I moved with it. One evening after a long shift, I came home and found something tucked under my door. No knock, no message, just an envelope. Inside was a letter, Mia's handwriting. I sat down and read it in the fading light. Ethan, you deserve better. I'm sorry I failed you. You were a good husband. Please don't let this change the way you see yourself. Mia, no excuses, no begging, just guilt on paper. I folded it and tucked it into a drawer without a second thought. No anger, no sadness, just a quiet finality. Later that night, I walked to the pier by the lake again. The air was cool, the sky 1,000 shades of gold and purple. Standing there alone, I realized her chapter was over, and mine was just beginning. The days that followed felt strange, like walking through the ruins of an old life. I filled my time with work, fixing up the apartment, clearing out anything that no longer felt like mine. For the first time in a long while, I started thinking about what I wanted, not what Mia wanted, not what we had planned together. Just me. One Saturday morning, James called. You up for a hike? He asked. Normally, I would have said no. Found an excuse. Stayed inside with my thoughts. But not this time. Yeah, I said. Yeah, I'm in. We met up at the trail just outside the city. As we climbed higher into the hills, breathing the clean, sharp air, I felt something heavy fall away from me. Maybe it was grief. Maybe it was guilt. Maybe it was just the old version of me finally letting go. At the summit, standing there with the wind on my face, I smiled for the first time in what felt like forever. It wasn't much. It wasn't dramatic. But it was real. And it was mine.